Hi, welcome back for another preview video. This time I'm very excited to present to you the game rules and my first impressions from the latest game of Arcona Games, which is a game called The Great Harbor. The Great Harbor is a game that if it can be described with a couple of sentences, it will be a great dice worker placement with a twist plus an interesting engine building game. I know it's more than a couple of words, but I think this really sums up the aspects and the character of the game. Now, it's a game that has actually both very interesting dice placement, dice worker placement. Actually, thematically, it takes us all the way back to Carthage, to trying to develop and prosper one of your colonies by doing trade, by avoiding pirates and battling them, and being able to develop your colony and gain victory points. You are in the Great Harbor, which is consisted of different district tiles, which have different things that you can benefit, gain resources, rope, sails, take different people to help you in your colony estate, build and construct ships and send them for trades and so on. And you do that in an action in a worker placement series, but in the same time you're trying to build up your engine so that it really becomes bigger and better and can give you more and more to accumulate more victory points and win the game. Now, the interesting aspect, and this is a really fresh idea, which I'm going to come and discuss a bit more at the end of this video, where I share more about my first impressions, but I want to give it out from the start, is we've seen dice worker placement before, and this is a very novel and very interesting mechanic. I really enjoy it. This mechanism for me is fantastic. I think a lot of you would agree with me. But the twist in this game, and this is really clever, is that when you do the dice worker placement, you have a set amount of pips. We've seen that before. Okay, fine. But here's the catch. You can split the amount of pips on adjacent different locations and gain different things. So let's say a high value pip die, a 5 or 6 or 4, or even lower, doesn't matter. You can spend the pips and spend out of the 4, 2 of the pips for one action tile that it's next to it, and another 2 for another one. And that gives immediately, really opens up a lot of possibilities, because you can go and do single worker placement and gain, or you can even decide not to split them and spend all four pips to gain a higher tier level on one district area, as you'll see, tile. But sometimes combining and getting a bit of both is very interesting. So a really clever idea that matches the color of the die, and then you can split the pips and gain more things from more locations. And on top of that, it's a very robust and interesting engine building game where you gain cards from buildings, gain ships, gain persons that can assist you with their abilities. You can activate them and all sorts of things. And I think I'm already going into giving more about my opinion, but roll back a bit and let me wrap up the rules for you. Let me explain how the game plays. Let me show you everything about the game and the rules and the gameplay of it. I'm going to add timestamps in the description of the video, so you can click and go directly to the specific section if you're interested, or even click and go directly to the final section of the video, where I'm going to share more about my first impressions and general experience that the game left with me in my gaming group, and how it felt overall. So let's see how the game works. Click at the description below, because you'll see a link to the crowdfunding campaign page. The game is launching very soon, and you can find out more and follow the campaign for unlocks, stretch goals, and more interesting information and facts about the game. But let's see first of all how it plays before we go to my final opinion at the end of the video. Prosperity to your Roman colony in the Mediterranean, trade and engage with the great harbor of Carthage, and construct mighty ships to trade and fight off the Cilician pirates in this dice drafting worker placement and engine building game for 2 to 4 players. So before doing anything else, let's familiarize ourselves with the components of the game. First of all, we have the map board, which is this one, depicting the Great Harbor. It has the shape of the harbor, of the Great Harbor, and it's really nice. I have already placed the tiles on there, but you can see clearly that there are slots for the 9 tiles of the game, which will placed during setup. These are called district tiles. They have the different districts. They depict different districts of the Great Harbor, from the architect's office to the shipyard and so on. They're all placed there, and we'll go more in details during the setup. We have 4 colony boards, 1 for each player. These look like this. They have different slots. These look like this. They have different slots for placing people under your colony, building different vessels, tracking your resources on this track, and also building different buildings. You can see one already set up there. 1 for each player. We have 20 dice. These dice are 5 of each of the different colors: red, blue, yellow, and purple. Nice chunky dice. A bag to hold them in, dice bag. We have 1 Senate board. You can see it over here. It's already placed and set up for starting the game. It has different disciplines like military, commerce, innovation, and politics. These are color coded, and these tracks are different tracks that the players can move upwards and gain benefits. We have, in addition to that, the trade board, which is over there. This is where our sea vessels are going to embark, trying to do trade, trying to navigate Mediterranean Sea during the course of the game, during the respective phase. We have the anchor marker for indicating the first player, which is this token here. We also have, in addition to that, the turn marker, which the game is played over 6 rounds, and each round has 2 turns, A and B, and these are tracked at the bottom of the main board. So round 1, turn A. We also have colonies. For those of you who, like me, enjoyed the game of PES, these look like the small meeples from the PES, really nice. These are 30 colonies. We also have the red wooden tokens, which are activation markers. In addition to that, we have prestige points, which are these points over here that players are going to accumulate, gathering prestige. We have 16 resource tokens, 4 for each player, 1 for sails, 1 for planks, 1 for metal, and 1 for rope. You can see them here. Okay, and these indicate at any given time how many, for example, planks you have, how many ropes, and so on your player board. We have 40 gold coins that you see on the top. We have 12 smuggler tokens. These are these tokens here. We are going to explain them later on. In addition to that, you have 21 favor tokens. These are the favor tokens. You also have damage tokens. Once your ships take damage, you're going to accumulate the damage tokens on top of the cards that you're going to have on your player board. You also have luxury tokens, 8 wine, 8 die, 8 marble, and 8 amphore, which are these ones here. I have already used some of those to set up the top of the trade board according to setup. We have 16 dice bonus markers, 4 for each of the colors, and these are those small, tiny, little cute tokens over here. We also have the luxury production tiles, which are those tiles here. By the way, the containers, the balls, are from different games. I use them as generic trays for putting different tokens, not coming with the game. We also have 6 dice bonus tiles. We're going to use one to place it on the main board, and there is 6 for having a variety and replayability. Then we have the different player pieces. We have 3 pieces, 3 ships per player. We also have stickers that you have in Latin number 1, 2, and 3 to differentiate between your 3 vessels. We have the insula, 3 for each player in their player color. We have the dock hats, small little dock hats, again 3 for each player. And last but not least, we have these tokens here, again color coded, matching the players. Now, on top of that, we have a lot of cards, and just to show you a few, we have the different 24 ships cards in 3 different sizes: the small, the medium, and the large. These are the respective decks, and I've drawn one for each of those to do the setup. Then we have the people cards. There is a large amount of 32 cards, and again, you deal 3 on the respective side of the main board, and the same goes for buildings. There is a deck with building cards for a total of 21, and then you deal 3 on the respective opposite side. Finally, there are 4 governor cards or leader cards. I don't know what's going to be the final name of those. These are these cards, and each player gets 1. They're going to be placing the drafted dice on them during gameplay. And there are also 10 pirate cards. These are these cards here. These are the pirate cards that they come as they create the pirate deck, and they're used in the respective phase. We're going to explain later on. And last but not least, we have, as I mentioned, the stickers that we're going to have already placed them on my 3 ships. So these are all the components of the game, of the core game. I'm sure more things, like always with Arcona games, are going to be unlocked during Kickstarter, but it already looks gorgeous. So it looks like a really nice, compact, clever dice drafting and engine building game. So let's move more with the details of the game. So these are all the components of the game. The objective. You are the governor of a colony in the area of Carthage, where the great harbor lies, a bustling port full of commercial activity, and the harbor offers many opportunities for resources and trade. Your task is simple: to use those resources to build the most prosperity in your colony, trade with the cities in the Mediterranean, fight off the pirates, and become the most prestigious governor of all time. The gameplay. The Great Harbor is played over 6 rounds, tracked at the bottom of the main board. Each round consists of 2 turns. During each turn, players will draft 2 dice. Then play them on the harbor tiles and or take and play different actions. The round structure is very simple. Each round has the following structure. For turn A, and let me show you turn A and turn B. Turn A, in each of the rounds, has the sequence roll and draft phase, then action phase, then voyage phase, and then end of turn steps. Then you move to turn B in the round, the same round that is, number 1. Then you roll and draft, you do the roll and draft phase, you do the action phase, you do the voyage phase, you do the end of turn steps like before, but in addition you do the end of round steps at turn B. So each round has turn A and turn B, and this is tracked by this hourglass little token. So let's move more into details about the turn structure. Roll and draft phase is the first phase in a given turn. Whether it's turn A or turn B, it always starts with the roll and draft phase. Now, the player with the anchor token, remind you it's this token over here, takes the dice bag and pulls out and rolls different number of dice depending on the number of players. So if we're playing a 2-player game, that's 5 dice, 2 dice per player plus 1 additional die. If we're playing 3-player game, 7 dice, 2 dice per player plus 1 additional die. And if we're playing 4-player game, 9 dice, 2 dice per player plus 1 additional die. So they take out of the bag those dice, they roll them, and after rolling, the player with the anchor token starts to draft by drafting 1 die of their choice from the ones rolled and place it on their governor card. So let's say I like this yellow 5-pip die, I place it on my governor or leader card. Then this procedure is going to continue, going clockwise. Each player is going to draft 1 die, and after everybody gets 1 die, we're going to repeat it again until all players have drafted 2 dice. And that will conclude the draft phase, but keep in mind that there's going to be always 1 die remaining from this process. So we put the remaining die in the smuggler's district, which is on the main board. In this area, it's called smuggler's district. So the remaining die is going to be placed there, the one that the players didn't select after drafting the dice. Then we move to the action phase. First of all, we determine the turn order. Remember, before we drafted dice so that each player has 2 dice to begin the game, and these are placed on their leader card. Before starting this phase, we determine the player order by calculating the sum of the drafted dice for each player. The player with the lowest sum in pips of their dice goes first. The rest of the players turns in order of increase. So let's say one player drafted a 1 and a 3, another player a 4 and a 2, another player a 5 and a 2, another player a 5 and a 3. The player with the 1 and a 3, total 4 pips, has the lowest sum of pips, and they will go first. In case of a tie, the player that is the closest to the anchor token clockwise goes first. Now, after we have determined the player order, players start this action phase by taking their turns. During their turn, you will place dice on the harbor tiles and play actions in any order. For example, you can place 1 die, then take any amount of actions, then place the second die, then take more actions, and so on. Now, let's see how we place the dice workers on the harbor tiles. Playing the dice workers. We place 1 die on any empty slot in the harbor in the color of the die, if the color of the die essentially matches at least one of the 2 halves of the slot. You can see that the tiles, once placed, and this again to show you a tile how it looks like, they have 4 slots. Now, depending on their position on the player board, they could be on the side of the harbor or in the center, surrounded by adjacent tiles, etc. Like, for example, the Blacksmith Avenue. It has tiles from all 4 cardinal directions, while the shipyard only, by the way, the shipyard is the only tile that always goes there, has only 1 common interface edge with the remaining board. Now, in order for you to place a die, you need at least one of the halves of the slot to match. In this case, the half shows a red and a purple. That means I can either place a red die, if I have them in my drafted slots, or phase before, or a purple one. Okay. So if I have any other color, so I don't have neither a red nor a purple, let's say I had only blue and yellow, I cannot select this slot. But of course I can go and select slots that are also to the outside part of a tile. So this is totally fine. Or, for example, I could also do it here. Another option is that, another actually thing to mention is that I can select to place my die, my drafted dice, anywhere on the board that at least one of the halves of the slot created, or if not a slot, just the half slot, matches the color of the die I'm placing in. After you place the die, you activate one or both of the tiles connected with the slot and gain their benefits in a very, very simple way. So let's say, for example, for the sake of the example here, I had a red 5 and I place it here. Now, if I have selected, let's say, this one and place it here, ignore the blue die. I mean, this is a smuggler's district, but let me take it out of the way so that it doesn't confuse you. So if I place it on a slot connected to just one tile, so that means this slot, that slot, this slot, or any other tile that has just one tile, okay, so it's not touching my die 2 tiles, it's touching 1 tile, then I can activate the tile to gain its benefit. The benefit that I gain from this tile depends on the amount of pips of the die that I place there. You can see, for example, here, if I place 5 or 6, which I did in this case, I can gain a large SIP from the offer. Okay, more on that on how the tiles work later. So I can get better benefits if I place higher number pips, in theory. Now, if I have placed a die here, I can spend my pips to both adjacent tiles. That means I have 5 pips to spend, and that's the second way of placing it in a slot connecting 2 tiles, so tile 1 and tile 2. Okay, and in this case you can activate both tiles if you want by distributing the pips of your die however you wish. That means I can spend, let's say, 3 out of 5 pips here and the remaining 2 here, or any other combination. That's up to me. So let's say I'm going to spend 2 pips here. That means I'm going to gain 1 metal, and the rest of the 3 pips of the 5 total pips that I have on the die, I'm going to spend them here, which means I can gain the middle benefit, which is a middle size ship. So it's up to me to determine what makes sense, what is available, okay, and what benefits more my plans. But this is essentially how the placing of the dice worker works. Now, another thing to mention is the blocking pips die. So let's go to this example again. So let's say I decided let's say I wanted to place specifically here. Okay, so I had the yellow die that I wanted to place to gain, let's say, I had a yellow die and I want to place it here to gain a large ship, okay, my last die. But let's also say, for the sake of the example, that there were some other pips here, like let's say it was 1 blue already there, and maybe a 2 red already on the tile of interest for me, okay. Now, and I had a yellow to play, so let's say I'm going to place it here, because I want to benefit from gaining a ship. So how the blocking die pips works: dice placed on the outer edges of the tiles, this is an outer edge, slots are not connected to another tile, that's an outer like this shipyard, the outer tile, and these pips that you are going to theoretically have are decreased by the pips of future dice placed on that tile slots. How does it translate? I mean, if I'm going to place a 5er here, that means I don't actually have a 5, I have a 5 minus 1 minus 2, so that's a total, so it acts as a 3. So even though I'm physically placing a 5 pip yellow die, because of the other dice, because it's an exterior outer edge tile, so it's 5 minus 1 minus 2 for a total of 3. Keep in mind, I'm not flipping the die to indicate 3, so just do it virtually, but that means with having 3 pips, I cannot originally take the large ship because it's 5 or 6 pips. I have to go for a middle size one because I'm reducing my pips theoretical capacity or power. It is important to mention that again, this rule applies only for the dice placed on the outer edges of the tiles. That means if I'm going to place here a die in a slot connecting 2 tiles, I'm not going to have reduced pips because still I'm going to use it as a 5er. Okay, this only affects dice placed on the edges of tiles, like I showed you in the example before. Now that we understood how dice placement works, let's see the benefits of all the tiles in more detail. So we start with the rope yard, which is this one over here. So let's focus on the different tiers here. For the rope yard, it is important to understand that the first tier, which says 1 or 2 pips, gives you 1 rope. If you have 3 or 4 pips, it gives you 2 ropes. And if you have 5 or 6 pips, you gain 3 ropes. Similarly, for the blacksmith avenue, you gain 1, 2 or 3 metals, depending on the amount of pips you have. The same can be said for the shipyard. So if you have a die indicating 1 or 2, that means, and you spend it there, you're going to get the top tier, which is gaining a small ship. But if you are going to use the second tier, because you placed the 3 or 4 here, the second tier, you're going to gain a middle size ship from the offer. I'll show you the offer in a minute. And if you use the 5 or a 6 for the bottom tier, you're going to gain the revealed large ship. In any case, the ships that you gain are the revealed ones. Let's move down to the cards to show you at the bottom of the board. Again, this is a small ship, it's also color coded, yellow, and the small deck and the revealed small ship. So if you place a die with 1 or 2, you're going to take specifically this card. If you place a die with 3 or 4, you're going to take this one, which is a middle green one from this deck. And if you place the 5 or 6, you're going to take the reveal card, the Mars in this case, from this deck, because you placed for the bottom tier. For the colonists, if you place the die with 1 or 2, you gain 1 colonist, and then if you end with higher pip dice, you gain a colonist and a prestige point. Now let's see the rest of the tiles. Now the sailmaker is very simple. Obviously here you gain sails. Depending on the number of pips, you gain 1, 2 or 3 sails respectively. Same goes for carpentry. 1, 2 or 3 planks depending on the number of pips you placed. For the forum, as you can see here, again depending on the number of pips placed from your dice, you gain 1 favor token and 1 colonist, 1 victory point, and 2 favor token and 1 victory point. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward what the tile indicates. Now the architect's tile over here, for this one you're going to gain benefit, you're going to get revealed building cards from the offer. I'm going to show you how they are. They are on the side of the main board already set there during setup. So during the if you place dice here and you spend your pips there, you can see if you place the 1 or 2 for the first tier, you're going to draw 1 building card from the deck. Okay, so you don't get the ones revealed. That's what you just gain randomly 1 from the deck. If you place there 3 or a 4, that means you get 1 building card from the 3 revealed. Okay, sorry, you draw 2 and then you keep 1. And if you place a 5 or a 6, that means you can take any ones from the ones revealed. Okay, this is how the architect office works. Actually, the second tier, then now how I read it, it's you can look one of the from the deck of the cards before selecting. Okay, so this is how the different tiles work. I didn't mention how the administration or people's, I don't know how it's going to be the final name, tile works, which is this one. Again, depending on the number of pips used from this tile, you draw, either you draw 1 card, people card from the deck, okay, or you gain from the revealed ones. Again, I think this is changed in the final rulebook, that's why it depicts something different. Okay, so it's just going to be modified, but this is essentially how the pips work on the tiles. You distribute them according to your placement, or use them if it's a single edge, outer edge tile, and you gain the benefits of the respective tile. And what about the Smuggler District? The Smuggler's District is considered a separate tile, and players can play any amount of dice there of any color. The district is not limited by slots of any other tiles. When you place your die on the Smuggler's District, you gain the resources that match the dice on the district that were put after drafting. In addition to that, you gain 1 Smuggler's token. So let me show you first of all how the Smuggler token looks like. It's this token here. Okay, that you gain. And again, as an example, let's say I placed a die here. That means there is also already a 1 there, which means it gives me 1 sail according to the table, plus a 4 one, which gives me 1 rope, and I get also 1 smuggler tile. In addition, whenever you gain a basic resource, either sails, planks, metal or rope, you adjust the corresponding marker on your colony storage. Let's say I earned 4 planks, I will move 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say I earned 3 sails, 1, 2, 3. Let's say I want to spend 1 sail and 1 plank, I will move it 1 down and 1 down, and so on. Whenever I gain colonist cards or ship cards, colonist cards or building cards, then I keep them in my hand. I don't place them on my playing area. I need to spend actions to play them. So ships go above and players go below. More on that later when we explain the action. Another thing to mention is whenever I gain colonists, remember those tiny cute little guys? These are the colonists. So whenever I gain a colonist, I need to place them on my unlocked colony spaces on my colony, which again is going to be explained more in detail later on. Okay, so they go on the spots that I unlock. I have and I unlock. So more on that later. So this is how the dice placement works. These are how the components and resources work on my player board. Now let's go and have a detailed reference about the actions. Now, before going into detail about the actions, I need to say that there is a really nice play rate here that it has both some reference and explanations, but also the round structure. So they are in order, as I mentioned before, for turn A or turn B. We've seen how the roll and draft phase works. We've seen how playing dice and action phase works. Now we're going to explain the actions, and later we're going to see the voyage phase and the end of turn steps, or also in addition the end of round steps if it's turn B. Now, we're here. We have drafted. It's the player's action phase where players are placing their drafted dice to gain the benefits of the tile, and then they can select to play actions, or they can play actions before or in between, or play a die, gain some items, play some actions as long as they can pay them, play another die, and so on. It's very free when you can play your actions. So the options here are very interesting. You can expand your colony, construct a dock or insula on your colony board. You can construct ships, construct ship cards from your hands into the free dock slot on your colony board. Send ships to trade missions, send ships that are docked at your colony on trade missions. House a person, put a person card from your hand into the bottom insula slots of your colony board. Construct buildings, construct building cards from your hand, placing them near your colony board. You use a person or a building, and you use the ability of a person or a building, and you place a use marker on the card. You can repair ships, you pay resources to repair your damaged ships, and last but not least, you can retire ships. You retire a dock ship, remove the card from your dock and place it near your colony board so that you can make slot and spot and space essentially for our cards. So these are the actions, or the actions mentioned that you can take. Let's have a closer look on how they work in a nutshell. Now the first action is to construct ships. To construct a ship, you have to play a card from your hand, so that means that you need to have acquired it previously. You pay the cost of the ship card and place it on an empty dock slot, and then you place the appropriate ship meeple on the dock of the slot like that. And it's a really nice gimmick because it clicks on the actual wooden dock and stays there, so you know that you have it available. Going a bit in the anatomy of the cards, you see that on the left you can see the cost. In this for this ship I need to pay 2 sails. Okay. Going in more details, this on the right you can see the prestige earned, in this case 0, in this one I placed before 2. Here you see the ship color, it's red, you can see it on the sails but also on the banner on the top with a name. And here you see the ship stats on the right in these circles. Last, there is a number here at the bottom, which is the card number for reference. So the ship stats are essentially for trade missions, that's why you want them. The speed shows how many sections they can travel back during the sail back step of the voyage phase. The hull shows how much damage the ship can take. The strength, the third one, shows how strong the ship is and its crew in a fight against the pirates. And last but not least, the cargo, the bottom one, shows the multiplier for trading in the trade step of the voyage phase. So this is how the anatomy of the these cards are broken down. More on how we use those stats later. But going back into the constructing a ship card. In this case, I paid, let's say, the cost, 1 sail, 1 plank, 2 metal and 1 rope. Place the card on a free slot, dock slot there. I took the meeple ship and placed it there on my wooden dock. But in addition to that, I advance on the Senate track. And the Senate track, it has 4, the Senate board has 4 tracks, 1 for each of the colors. Again, remember, they're matched with the colors of your ships and the dice. Okay, they all go together. Once I build one of I constructed the ship in the way I explained, I move my Senate marker of the corresponding color of the ship I build 1 step up on the track. In this case, I build a red ship. That means I need to go on the Senate board and move 1 up on the red track. This is the Senate board, so red is for military, so I'm going to move 1 step up. So you can see that by moving up, you're going to have different, I'm going to explain a bit more the tracks. Just want to move a bit up so that you can see the different colors more clearly. We have politics, which is purple. We have the commerce, which is yellow. We also have the innovation, which is blue. And last but not least, we have the military, which is red, the one I just moved. So let's say I was here by building a red ship card, constructing it. I'm going to move up on the red track of the military on the Senate board. Since we're here, let's see two more actions related to ship cards. So we have the repair ships action. So when a ship receives damage token, you'll see how this is done and why later on, but let's say it receives damage, that it equals its hull stat that you have to the right. That means that it needs to be repaired before you can send it again on trade missions. You can repair your damaged ships that are only docked on your colony. In order to repair the damaged ships, you need to pay 1 resource and remove the damage token from that ship. That means that it's again available to send it to trade missions. Okay, so this is something that you may need to do when the damage is equal to the hull. That means it's not seaworthy anymore. It needs to be on your dock, and then you can repair it. Another action you can do is you can retire ships. You can retire ship cards so that you can free up docking slot for a new ship card. And to do so, your ship must be docked at your colony, like it is now. Okay, your wooden meeple. Then you remove all crew colonists, returns to their supply. And if there was a crew card, return it to the people deck on the bottom of it. And finally, you place your retired ship card aside in your possession. It still counts towards your colony bonus and it gives you prestige points at the end of the game, but now you have a free slot to gain cards in its place. House person. To house a person card, you need to have a card in your hand, and then you place the person card in a slot not containing another person card, or in a slot with an insula that already has one person card. However, the person in that slot must match the color, must match by color. So you need to have, for example, purple cards in the same together, or red cards together. After you house a person card, erase the Senate standing by 1 space on the Senate track that corresponds to the color of the person you housed. Let's say for this case, in this example, if I place from my hand this engineering here, okay, I will raise my standing by 1 on the red track like we've seen before, because I'm placing a red person. Okay, and I will be able to move its abilities moving forward by taking the user person or building card action. Now, in order to do that, we'll explain how this is done, but what's important to know is that you can have more than 1 cards if you have a peninsula built so that you can house more. Okay, more than 1 person if it already has 1. So this is how you do the house a person action. Now let's say we want to use a person or a building card. Okay, the buildings we're going to have them next to our player area. Okay, but not slotted like persons or cards, but they act the same like with persons. So in order to use a person or a building, very simple what you do, you need to spend 1 activation token during and place it on the card to use a special effect from that card. You take the activation token, you place it on the card itself to show that you're activating the card, and you gain the benefit. In this case, remove damage from any ship in your fleet. In this case, I would be able to remove this damage that I had before in the previous example by activating this engineer. So this is how the activation works. The same goes for buildings. Keep in mind that you only have 3 activation tokens, as you see, to use for the entire game, but during the game you can spend 2 favor tokens. Again, these are the favor tokens, and that's why you want them. Okay, spend 2 favor tokens to be able to return an activation token from the card back to your supply so that you can activate it again moving forward. So this is how you use a person or a building. Another action you can do is you can send a colonist as crewman. You send a free colonist to work as a crewman on any of your ship cards, and when you send the colonist, you must choose which ship you want to send him to. That colonist improves that stat so that you place it beside the stat exactly of the ship card you want to improve. You can only send one colonist as crewman per ship card, so you need to think carefully. So let's say I want to increase my sails for this vessel here, this ship, so if I place it here, I will have, instead of 1, 2 sails, 2 speed, sorry, but my colonist now becomes crewman. And this is another action. Now, another action you can do is you can send colonist as a luxury production worker. You may send 2 colonists on a luxury production tile in your colony to immediately produce a luxury token, and you place the luxury token into your supply. So in this case, I send 2 colonists there, and they will produce 1 amphorea, which I'm going to place it to my supply. Okay, this is how the sending colonist as a luxury production worker works. Another action you can do is you can send ships on a trade mission. You can send ships that are docked in your colony on trade missions. To send ships or a ship or several ones at the same time on a trade mission, you take the corresponding ship meeple from the colony board, from your colony board that is, and you place it on the first lot available in the first free section of the Mediterranean board. When you place the ship meeples on the board, make sure that they are facing to the right, meaning they are embarking towards their trip sail, pointing towards right. This will indicate that the ships are still en route to their trade missions. We'll see how the resolution of these trade missions is done during the voyage phase, but just for the benefit of demonstrating, if I'm going to send, let's say, one of my ships here, I'm going to place it in the first available slot here. And this is how you send, you do the send ships on trade mission action. The last action you can take is to improve your colony. You construct a dock hut or insula, a neighborhood district, in your colony. To construct a dock hut, you pay the cost on the dock hut slot and place a dock hut. And as part of the action, you can place a free colonist from your colony onto the dock space to lower the cost of the dock hut by 1 resource upon construction. So let me show you how this is done. So I'm going to place my dock here. Okay, and for doing so I needed theoretically to pay 2 ropes as seen on this spot. 1 plus 1, 2. But if I will be sending one of my colonists there as part of this action, I will be lowering the cost from 2 ropes to 1. After you construct a dock hut, immediately repair the ship card if it has any damaged tokens, meaning on there, if there were any damaged tokens, I would immediately remove them. And keep in mind that in addition to that, you go up 1 space on the Senate track that corresponds with the color of the ship card in that dock slot. In addition, as part of improving your colony, you can construct an insula. You pay the cost of the insula slot and place an insula there. A constructed insula allows you to place an additional person card in that slot, as we've seen before. You can place the first person card in the slot even if you don't have any insula in that slot. Okay, but let's say, for example, I want to construct this insula. I need to pay 2 planks and 1 metal. Okay, I will be able to pay them, place my insula there. And in addition, if I constructed 2 adjacent insulas, I will be able to unlock a colonist slot. You see, this slot here unlocks as part of constructing 2 adjacent insulas. When you do, the next thing that you do by paying the cost, constructing the insula, the next thing that you do is you take 1 random luxury production token and you place it on the appropriate slot here. Okay, so we've seen you can use colonies to produce luxury tokens. Okay, And keep in mind that the constructed insula in any case unlocks these additional slots for placing colonies. That means that you'll have additional slots below there, like this one, which is locked, for adding colonies, as obviously indicated on the iconography. So these are the options that you have by improving your colony, and altogether these are all the actions you can take in addition to your dice worker placement. Now, we've seen the roll and draft phase, we've seen the play dice in action phase. The third phase of a turn is the Voyage Phase. In the Voyage Phase, ships that were sent on a trade mission are going to go through the Voyage Phase. We have the pirates, resolve the pirates step first, then we have trade, the ships that have successfully battled against pirates now trade, and we have the sail back, all ships start to sail back towards their colonies. So let's see a bit more details on how this Voyage Phase works. So, in the Voyage Phase, after each player has finished their action phase, we proceed with the Voyage Phase. First we have the pirates. If there is at least one ship meeple in the first leftmost section of the Mediterranean board, we reveal a pirate card and place it in that section slot. Then, in order according to the ship slots in that section, starting from the first slot, each player resolves individually a battle against their pirate card, comparing their strengths to the pirate card there, and again against the attack strength of their ships. So for example, in this case I would reveal one pirate card, because we have at least one, so open seas, no problem here. Here I would reveal a card, that's a pirate which is attacking in turn order. If I had more than one, first number 1, then number 2, then number 3, and then number 4. Okay, and this is the way that they, the order. Each player in its slot, or 3 slots, they're going to, if they have a ship there, they're going to need to battle the pirates. Now, how this works? If your ship card, that's the battle section of the voyages. If your ship card's total strength is lower than the pirate card's strength, you lose a battle against the pirates. You place 1 damage on each ship that you had in that section on the Mediterranean board, and you turn your ship meeples to sail backwards. You reverse their sailing direction, pointing to the left. If your ship card's total attack strength equal or higher than the pirate's strength, you have defeated the pirates in that section. Now you must choose if you want to continue your voyages, moving your ship or ships to the next section, or stay in this section and do trade with that city that corresponds to this section. Again, you see the city and the trade that they can do at the top. If your ship card's attack total strength is equal or higher, you will be able to select this option. Again, as you can see from the stats, remember from your own cards, the ones that you have, you need to compare the strength. But if you have more than one ship in a section, you add the strength of all those ships to compare it all together, combining their strength to trying to match or exceed the strength of the pirate card. Now the trade, which happens afterwards. If you choose to stay and trade in this section, you follow these steps. First, you multiply the largest cargo modifier among your ships you have in that section with the coin icon in that section and gain that many coins from this supply. Then you gain the corresponding prestige, which is shown on that section. Third, if you have a luxury token that matches one of your luxury requirements of that section, you can return that luxury token to the supply in order to gain additional prestige points, as shown on that section. You return both your luxury tokens and the luxury token from the trade board to the supply. And fourth and last, you rotate the ship meeple so that they are facing towards the left, meaning they did the trade and they're starting sailing back. This indicates that the ships are already traded and they're going to, they cannot continue to sail forward. They must start their journey back to your colony. Let's see the example here. If I decide to trade in this city, I would multiply with 1, so I will gain 1 coin. I will also gain 1 prestige point. Okay, and if I have the corresponding luxury token, in this case, let's say I had 1 grapes, I will remove it and send it back to the supply together with the one indicated there to show that I have fulfilled this request, and I will gain 1 additional points as shown on that section. Again, as you can see, moving forward, you gain more coins and more prestige points for luxury tokens. If I've done that, then I'm going to flip the direction of my ship to indicate that now I'm going to start moving backwards to go back to the Great Harbor, and I cannot move forward anymore. But let's say I continue the voyage, and let's see we have subsequent battles. If you choose to continue the voyage with your ship or ships from the first section to the second section, or from the second section to the third, you move your ships to the next free slot of the next section. After all players who choose to continue the voyage have moved their ships in the section, a new pirate card is revealed. And a battle again is repeated like before. However, during this battle, you will compare your total ship's strength with the strength of all the revealed pirate cards. The newly revealed pirate card plus all the previously revealed cards during the voyages. So the first one and the second one. In this case I was lucky, there was only one pirate card. But if there was a pirate card there, I would also compare the strength to this and that card together. That makes the, let's say, challenge more, because you know, more strength of pirates will theoretically accumulate and it will be more difficult, but the rewards will be more if you manage to beat them and succeed moving forward. So just move it a bit to the right to show that let's say we have revealed nothing, 1 crossed swords and 2 for a total of 2 strength. Okay. So if I win against the pirate in the third and final section, you must now trade with that city in that section and turn your ship to sail backwards towards your colony. Okay, so this is how the voyage phase works. Pirates, battle, trade, or continue voyage and have subsequent battles moving forward. But then you need to be prepared, because the strength of the pirates is more. Okay, because it counts also all previously revealed cards. So there you have it. This is how this phase works. Now we proceed with the end of turn steps or end of round steps, or actually in addition end of round steps. So let's say this is turn A. That means we have end of turn steps. Okay. That means in this case we will, if we're ending the turn of round A, turn A, we follow these steps. First of all, we all the ships sail back. Each ship must now sail back towards the Great Harbor section of the Mediterranean board, and each ship will sail back according to their speed stat that will allow them to follow the arrows as shown on the Mediterranean board. So this is like the time it takes to travel back. Okay, so if you had high speed, that means you can return faster and be able to embark again for another trade mission. Then we pass the anchor marker that was held from the player to the player on the left. On the next turn, that player will be the first to draft a die, like before. And the third step we do is we advance the turn marker. We advance the turn marker 1 space to the round track to go to the next space. If this is the end of round step, which is during turn B. If we're ending the second turn of a round, we follow these steps as for end of turns described above, with the following additional steps. First, taxes. For each 2 colonies in your bottom row, you gain 1 coin, as indicated on your player board here. Then, you return workers, you return colonies that were assigned as workers from your luxury production tiles, and or if they were assigned to help construct a building or free unlocked slots on your colony. Okay, so you return them, they will go back to your colony boards, colony slots. You can assign them again differently moving forward based on your future plans for the next turn. Okay. The next thing is you remove the dice that were placed on the main board. We'll have different dice there from the previous dice placement phase. You place them back into together also with the ones from the smuggler district. You put them back into the dice bag and you shuffle them so you can proceed with the next round. And then you're ready to start with the next round, turn A of round 2. Okay, we'll be here. and then we'll go back to round A of turn A of round 2. So this is how the full structure of the round goes. Now quickly some additional rules. Let's focus on the Senate bonuses. When you play a card with a color of your colony, ship, person or building, remember these cards allow you to immediately move your marker one space on the appropriate track, the same color of the card you played on the Senate board. If you stepped on one of or passed through one of the bonuses, you will take the respective bonus. It could be a coin, it could be gain a colonies, it could be gain 2 prestige, or it could be gain 1 resource of your choice. To gain some bonuses on the Senate board, both of your markers need to step or pass the appropriate space on that bonus, meaning the ones that they are in between here. Okay, so this is how they work. Another thing to mention is the dice bonus color. When you play your second card of the same color in your colony, ship, people or building cards, you immediately gain that dice bonus, color bonus. To make this, you place the appropriate dice color bonus token on your governor card. Okay, so let's say I played the second blue. I will take a blue token and place it here on the blue. And during future drafting of dice, whenever you draft a die with that color that matches your dice color bonuses, you gain an extra resource according to the dice bonus style, which we placed at the main board before. So in the future, if I take a blue die, I will gain 1 metal, because I already have the bonus on my card. An additional thing is about the governor or leader cards is the traits. You see that there are 2 traits below. Innovative and industrial for this, blue and yellow for my specific card. Your governor card displays 2 traits on your governor. At the end of the game, each pair of cards that you match with your governor traits will score 1 additional point. So that means that I get 1 point for each pair of blue and yellow cards in my play area. Another thing to mention is the hull damage on ship cards. Fully damaged ship needs to be repaired before they can sail out again on a trade mission. A fully damaged ship is considered ship that has damage tokens equal to its hull stat point. In order to repair 1 point of damage, pay 1 resource while the damaged ship is docked at your colony by taking the repair action we've seen before, and remove that damage token from that ship. A ship that has 2 hull points but only 1 damage can still be sent on missions. In this case, this one can only take 1 damage. Last but not least, the smuggler token. While placing a die on any of the free slots on a tile of the harbor, you may spend 1 smuggler token to disregard the pips of the rest of the die of that tile, and this will enable you to play one of your die for the full amount of pips of the dice you placed there. So in this case, remember, if I wanted to play a 4 here, I would it would actually count as 4 minus 2 minus 1 for only a single value, so it will be, even if it's a 4, it will count as a 1. Okay, but if I spend 1 smuggler token, I will be able to disregard the subtract negative points of 1 red and 2 blue, and I can play it for a total of 4 pips, and then gain a middle-sized card in this case. End of game. The game ends after the end of the 6th round. So we'll be here all the way down to the B turn of round 6. That means that we have finished the game. Okay, and players continue with calculating the scores. You score prestige for each card you have played in your colony, ship, people and buildings, as shown on the card. You score prestige for each pair of cards you have that matches the color of your governor traits. You score 1 prestige for each dock, hut and or insula that you have constructed in your colony, plus 1 prestige for adjacency, constructed docks, huts and insula. You score prestige points from each building card you have in your tableau, if that building card's ability is to give you prestige at the end of the game, that is, VP producing buildings. You score 1 prestige for each unspent smuggler token you have in your possession, and you sum up the score prestige from the above with the prestige tokens gathered throughout the course of the game, and this is your final prestige sum. The player with the most prestige total wins the game. And there you have it. This is everything you need to know on how to play the Great Harbor. Okay, I'm biased. I'm going to say it up front. I'm a sucker for dice worker placement games. Something about this mechanism really captures my spark, my interest really high, because I love worker placement games, and using dice, it gives them an aspect of the value of the die, either in restricting it in where it can go, or combining it with other things. So dice worker placement, there are a lot of great games, dice worker placement games out there. It's a fantastic mechanism. Likewise, I like dice worker placement games which have dual purpose or different types of workers that you can use. But let's focus now on this game with the dice worker placement. As a mechanism on its own, it's fantastic for me, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, especially if you're into Euro games. The added value of this novel idea that the designer brought in this game is sharing the pips, the value of the die, between adjacent different locations to gain more of what you had in mind. Because you can have a high value pip and you can go for the large size ship, or you can go for gaining 3 metals or 3 sails. But what if you combine it and you can gain 2 metals and 1 sail, and then that makes your subsequent steps one closer to you to fulfill your plans and make what you want to make, to build something, to upgrade something, to construct something, to construct a ship or whatever, or do trade or whatever. So this is really, really interesting. It also is very fast in flow in terms of duration, because even though you have different possibilities, in a way you have also some of the spots available to you, because one of the 2 borders creating a slot must match in color with your die, so you cannot just place it anywhere. It's not just a matter of not having another die in there. It's also matching one of your 2 draft dice, so you have pretty much a plan at the beginning of your drafting phase, but it can change during the course of the game, so that you can gain a bit more. Now, the other interesting part of the game is the engine building. I really enjoyed the engine building in terms of getting more people, getting more buildings that give you power. The activation of people is really interesting. The colonies, how they use to go and produce little things and give you more, is interesting. Very, very nice and fascinating. But overall, combined with the worker placement, it gives more great gameplay, in my opinion. And all of that can be combined with the Voyage Phase, which is really, really interesting. The Voyage Phase is actually an opportunity for you to do, let's say, contracts, to go and deliver things and gain more points, more prestige, and gain more coins also. And the further you go, the better the trade, let's put it like that, but also the more the danger. So it has a bit of push your luck, but predicted push your luck element, because if you go with 2 ships in a section, then their combined strength can be used against the pirates. But the more further you go in the second or third slot, all the previously revealed pirates, even if you manage to defeat them in your previous steps, because it goes subsequently, they add their strength. So that means it makes it more, let's say, challenging to proceed. But if you manage to do it, then you can do much better ratio trading at the end. A very, very interesting aspect. I think it not only it's rewarding in terms of satisfaction, gameplay, etc. For me personally, I think it adds a thematic note to the game, because you could be thinking that I'm doing worker placement, I'm doing resources, engine building, and I'm doing trading. But then you have your ships actually embarking on sails and travels, and actually even when they're coming back, they face the other direction. So that's also interesting, because it's like a delay. If you have slow ships, or if you're going further away, you may get more rewards, but then they also have to return in terms of steps. So you will not get them right away to send them again for another trade mission. If you also have damage, you need to repair them, and all sorts of little things here and there that both thematically fit, but also provide a very satisfying, holistic, and enjoying experience, but with enough twists and novel ideas to make it to make it satisfying, but also to make it a game that it will come again and again on our tables with gameplay in sessions. I can see that being played a lot if you like worker placement engine building games, because it's easy to set up, has simple rules, and also it has a lot of interesting ideas. So there you have it. this is my opinion about the game. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, keep in mind that you can visit the link below in the description so you can find more about the game soon. And this is the latest game from Arcona Games, and hopefully it will get funded. I'm sure it's going to get funded because it's a great game and it deserves it. So many thanks for watching.